What's going on, everyone? I want to welcome you to another episode of Inside the Hammer. This is episode 3. And this episode's actually different for 2 reasons. And here's why. This is the first time we've ever had multiple guests at once. So that's new. And this is the first time we've ever had someone who doesn't currently work at Yellowhammer. We have someone who has worked before, then left, and doesn't work here anymore.
That statement literally makes me cry.
But here's what
she wasn't fired.
Here's what I like. Yeah, Ann wasn't fired. We need to bring someone on we fired.
Oh my God.
But here's what I like. So the reason I think it's important is because I think sometimes people are like, well, dude, these people work for you and you own the company. Of course, they're not going to say anything bad or say anything challenging. And I'm like, no, like I think they will. But to prove the point, we brought someone who doesn't work here. So no matter what Hillary says, she cannot lose her job.
No pressure.
Anyway.
I, on the other hand, can.
No, it's not true. You can literally say anything. So
oh, you didn't hear?
so we're kicking into this thing. I want to introduce these guys. This is Taylor Stanley. This is Hillary Mitchell. And we're just super excited to be here. So let's kick it off. I want to start asking you guys. We just kind of have some questions to go down. I want to just go through it. This is our effort to bring you guys inside of our culture. So that's the whole reason we're doing this whole thing. So I'll start with who wants to start first. Doesn't matter.
Hillary can. She started before.
All right, Hillary.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. Just how you found us. Tell us just the cliff notes of kind of how you got here. That whole thing.
Cliff notes. Okay, cut me off when I get too long. So I am from Birmingham, and then I moved to Mobile, and I kind of heard about Yellowhammer a little bit. It was kind of like one of those mysterious things because I wasn't out in the Sims area. And so I saw it on somebody's Instagram. I was like, oh, this is cool, traveling coffee. So I'd always try and track it down, and for years I never did actually successfully. But then I had a friend that worked there, and I was just like looking for a job. I was tutoring at the time, and my friend was like, hey, I think you would really like my boss. So then I called Jeff, and that was kind of the start of that.
And then you told your friend after, you're like, hey, that was not true at all. He's kind of a jerk.
So then Jeff called me, and we just had a good chat. And then I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I kind of just jumped on the trailer, really. And Mo had this discussion, and she was like, hey, I think we're going to hire you. And then like a few days later, Jeff had the conversation. He's like, hey, come into my office, which is like the truck.
Which is where? Oh, the mobile office.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, come into my office. So I was like
Shout out
scared
to the
after a
mobile
run. He said, so we're thinking about hiring you. And I was like, I could have sworn I just got hired. He's like, we're still wondering, but like, here's a few things. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, it kind of just fell into my lap. I was looking for a job, and
that's cool.
She thought we would work well together.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
We did eventually after a few months.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get into more of that later. It gets interesting. Taylor, tell us about yourself a little bit.
So I have been working here since January. And before I started working here, I worked at a daycare for 4 years. And that's kind of where I learned about Yellowhammer, because they would be there every Tuesday morning.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would come out to the trailer every Tuesday morning. And I originally became friends with Carson just from, like, she was on that run almost every week. So we became friends. And at the time, I was kind of looking for a new job because I was really over working at this daycare.
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
That's
4
tough.
years is a really long time.
Yep.
So I was just kind of over it. So I was looking for a job. And at the time, I was actually in business school at South. So I was like, it'd be cool to like work for a company, kind of like learn the business side of like owning a company, running one, whatever. So I interviewed. I swear I had the longest interview process of any employee who has ever worked here, ever. I put in an application in like July or August, and then I didn't even get hired until January.
Wow.
Well, and it was because y'all were getting ready to like open the Dolphin store. So like everything, it was like so busy. Yep. And I literally, and like my schedule was really crazy. So like I was a full-time student and I had this other job. So like I could never there was never time to like interview really. Yep. So I had like one interview a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's brutal.
Yeah. I was like so determined. I was like, I literally did not get this job. And I remember it so clearly. I was in the middle of watching A Star is Born, and then Mo called me on the phone, and I was like, oh my God, I have to answer this phone call right now. So I literally got out of the theater and went outside and answered Mo's phone call.
Or they're not going to call back for another 6 months.
Literally, I was like, I have to answer now, or they're never going to call me again.
That's hilarious. What do you guys think, like, one of your biggest challenges you faced kind of just working here? Just being in our culture, what's something difficult that you've gone through?
I think for me, it's like the stress level. Like I said, like before I worked at a daycare, and we mentioned this earlier, I was working at this daycare, and I remember it was like my second or third time on the trailer, really. And it was me and Jeff. We were just talking, and he was like, so what's up? And I was like, I've literally said I've had my brain turned off for like the past 4 years, and I could see the terror in his eyes. Like, oh my God, who did we hire?
I do remember that.
But yeah, it's like, it was like in the beginning, it was super challenging just from like going to sitting there and watching kids all day to like the stress that like.
Sure, it's a lot.
That can come, so.
Yeah, it's a lot when the line is really long, and man, you just got to be on it because you got to know that you know, because the expectation is speed and also quality, and the team's got to be good. Like the whole, like you got to make this whole thing work, you know. And so, what about you? What's been a challenge?
Yeah, mine was definitely anxiety. I was always like thinking about, you know, what was I doing? What was I doing? Like, did I remember the recipe right? But then I was also always thinking about like, okay, well, I worked a lot with Jeff. I was like, what is he thinking about right now? Or what is the shift lead thinking about? Everybody's like thinking, or if I mess something up, I was always concerned of what they were doing. So then it was like, I was always scared of what was happening. Yeah. And I was a full-time student and had a lot going on in my life. And so it was just like a mess. And that was like, honestly, I did suck for a while.
Can I tell your famous story real quick?
Oh.
You guys have to know this. Here's the famous story. The first time, was this the first time?
The first time that it happened, or first interview?
No, I think this is the first time you were on the trailer.
The first time that it
I think no.
Or you'd been on a couple of times?
I think it was like my second time, but it was my first time on POS. I'd never in
first
my
time
life
on POS.
done POS
and that's
before.
a lot. Honestly, looking back, like I get it, but we were serving at a place, and we were selling drinks. So Hillary had someone approach her and be like, "Hey, I paid with a 20, and you guys only gave me $3 back or something." Whatever the scenario was, right?
I gave her 42 cents back. And so I remember that so specifically.
So she was like, "Hey, I paid with a 20," and this is like 10 payments later.
Yeah.
And so I just remember you being like, like you literally were like, "Oh yeah, I'm so sorry." Like you just opened the drawer and just handed out cash. I was like, oh my gosh, like we are in trouble.
I remember because it was like she said that, and I was like my face, and I turned to you, and you're like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I'm like, so then I'm like leaning back, I'm like, she says, and like I don't remember this. Like, and Jeff's like, you just have to give it to her now. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was insane. So anyway, but it was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we have people do that a lot, and we have to verify things on our ends. We have to do till counts. And in most of our locations, we have cameras, so we can always pull back footage and just look at things. And so anyway, but that was out in the trailer. That was a long time ago. I just remember that was such a stressful scenario. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this girl just handed somebody a 20 with no verification.
I just remember the shift that for me, though, it was like I was always scared of what you were thinking or anybody else was thinking. And then like that resulted in me just being terrible all the time. Yeah, it was like high anxiety.
So how'd you get over that?
And then I just like one day had this realization, like finally got my, my life settled out. So I was like, got my head on straight. And I was like, this is terrible, but I was like, the worst thing they can do is fire me.
Totally.
And so I was like, I either know my job or I don't. And so I just like worked really hard to know my recipes. And then like past that, I wasn't scared anymore because I was like, the worst thing Jeff can do is be like, hey, this job sucks for you. Like, be gone, and I'd find a new job.
Be gone.
Be gone.
Be gone.
So, like, when I was a shift lead, people would get so stressed out because they'd be like anxiety, and I'd be like, hey, just do your job. And they're like, that's not the answer I was looking for. But I'm like, if you just know how to do your job, then you don't really have to worry about anything else.
That's literally it.
And it changed everything.
I want to highlight a truth that I think you just said, and I think if you're listening or watching, I think it's really important. Facing your fear is the biggest thing you could possibly do. Like, I tell people that. It's funny you bring that up. I literally tell people that. I say, tell me the worst possible outcome. So when Mo and I first started the business, I asked myself the same question. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to lose the business. I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm going to get kicked out of my house. And so that's the worst. And so then where does that leave me? Well, it leaves me underneath a bridge with 3 kids and a wife. My kids would think that's the best vacation they've ever had. Y'all know my kids. Yeah, they'd be like, hot dogs over the dumpster every night? Yeah. Like,
wait, I don't have to wear a shirt?
Literally, right? Yeah. I could just stay in my underwear the whole time. Like, but it helped me because I'm like, if worst case scenario is just you're going to camp out for 6 months.
Right.
That's not that bad. So I love that you defined who cares? Who cares if you come in and we're like, hey, this doesn't work? It doesn't matter because you're just going to go get something else that you like and that you're good at and that you believe in. And so I just think it's important. I think most people in life don't face their fears, and I love that you highlighted that. Like facing it head on is like the best thing you could possibly do.
You were my
Yeah.
fear.
That was just good. Yeah.
I had the
I
same,
was your fear.
I had the
That's when we
same
became
thought process
friends.
as Hillary, though. Like, when I first started.
Yep.
Because I was like, whenever I first started working here, I was super quiet. And nobody believed I would make it this far. But look where we are now.
So true.
Hillary and Jeff talk so much crap about me.
No, Hillary was reminding me before we hit record. Hillary goes, do you remember when we were talking crap about Taylor in front of Taylor? I was like,
Like, we were having a meeting and we were watching her out the window.
we're like looking at
He
her and
said,
we're like,
hey, what do you think about Taylor? I said, I don't know, man. He said, yeah, me neither. We're still kind of feeling it out. And now we're best friends.
we're the worst.
Welcome to Hillary.
But that was good old fashioned company meetings back then. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like we didn't really have
Yeah.
time to sit down and think. So
But here we are.
here we are.
I still have notes in my phone from when I first started all the recipes. I still have them all on my phone because I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn all these dang recipes and I'm going
is
to
so
prove
funny.
these people wrong.
And look at you. You did. You're killing
know.
it.
She's crushing it now.
I'm trying to get Taylor to be a future business owner, store owner or something. I don't know. I don't know if she's on board yet, but
Let's
I'm
do
trying.
it.
I'm trying to get her to quit
still,
and come with
I'm
me.
still trying to get Hillary to come on, to come do this.
Like I've told you 100 times, I have dropped out of 2 colleges. So, like, I am all yours.
She has no fears.
Literally.
All else fails, I'll just go back to school, I guess. Maybe drop out of a 3rd one. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. That is too funny. All right, what do you guys think? What's like one of the biggest lessons you've learned, like in being in our culture, being around our people, being around like in this process? What's something you've learned?
I've learned to not judge a book by its cover.
What do you
that's
mean?
good.
What do you mean by that?
Mostly meaning like the people who work here, really. Like every single one of us are so different, and there's people who work here that I literally thought I would never speak to. Ever.
Really?
Like just looking at them, passing them. Like if we went to the same high school, I would probably never even talk to them.
That's interesting.
But
like who?
Oh God, you really want me to call?
Yes.
Oh,
Give me just one
no.
example.
Like Jen is somebody that I
Yeah,
would call
I could
out.
see that. Yeah.
Like Jen is so like has such a huge personality.
By the way, if you want to know more about Jen, we're on episode 3. Go back one episode to
Yeah.
episode 2.
Yeah, it's a
You're
good one.
and
welcome.
you will get a whole.
You're welcome, Jen. There's your little plug.
There's your
Shout
plug. You will get a whole entire episode of Jen.
And then you'll understand.
And then you will know why we are here.
But yeah, I don't know.
That's really cool.
And that's what I love about like our family here. Is like literally we're all so different, but yet we
Yeah.
all like get along. Like we're literally family here.
Sure.
So
Yeah, that's cool. What about you?
Mine's definitely is like, don't be afraid of the hard conversations.
Yeah.
That was one thing that like in my new job that I really think about all the time of you is like, I would come to Mo and, you know, Mo was like not as much my boss. She was like more my best friend. And so we would always like, you know, hey, Mo, guess what happened today? And then she'd be like, okay, go talk to them. And I'm like, oh. Or I'd be like, oh, Mo or Jeff, like this is what happened. And they're like, well, did you call them and talk to them? And I'm like, oh. So like that was one thing that I was like really pushed in is
Yeah.
because I wasn't like, you know, afraid of it. I just like didn't know that it would have a positive outcome, you know? So I was like, I would just not do it. But then it would be like, oh, if something was going on that didn't need to, or even if, you know, even if like just honoring people, if they did awesome, like call them. And like that changed one of my
Sure,
relationships like great, because on the shift was like trash. And then Mo was like, yeah, you should probably go and like tell her that she did a great job. And like now we're friends, you know? And so
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I didn't know that would change it. And so I know now in my other workplace or just wherever I am, like when something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, you know, if you just talk to them, it'll chill out, you know, like things will get worked out, or, you know, if it won't, then it wasn't supposed to, you
Sure.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that I am trying to still work on.
Is what?
I guess like what Hillary's talking about, like if like I have an issue with someone or like something happened on the shift, like don't be afraid to like go up and
Sure.
talk to them about it, because that's going to help them. That's going to help me. That's going to help our company
Yep.
grow and fix all the like issues that we're going to have along
Yeah.
the way. So
Yeah. And people think like you're never above a hard conversation. Like I'm never above a hard conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, ask Madison. Madison and I had a hard conversation was it last week? I mean, like brutal. I was like, yo, like, I mean, we were pissed, like both at each other. It wasn't just like the boss is angry, you know? I mean, it was literally like she's mad at me, I was mad at her, like just something wasn't worked out. And so before she left, I'm like, hey, let's talk that through again. And we literally just sat there for 15 minutes and we talked it out. Because what I told her, I said, it's unfair for me to be mad at you when the expectation isn't clear. And I'm like, that's unfair to you. You know, I'm like, I don't want you to go home and be like, man, Jeff shows up pissed sometimes. And sometimes you feel like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I'm like, we need to make sure the expectation's clear. And so we literally just talked it out. And it like left great, you know? And she really appreciated me taking the time. I appreciated her understanding like my frustration. And then she's like, man, this guy's, I'm going to kill him. You know what I mean? And so it was just really good. So I think anytime in life, I mean, even in marriage, even with kids, even in any kind of business, anything you do, ministry, no matter what you do, you're going to have to face these conversations. Because if you don't, stuff just goes crazy. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I think that's cool. Speaking of hard conversations, what's the hardest conversation you've ever had in this company? And be sure to come to your mic. You kind of keep keep sloping off. You know, what's one of the hardest conversations you guys have ever had? It doesn't have to be with me, just anybody.
Mm-hmm. The only one that comes to my mind is with you, and we had a little trailer run that day, and I was like kind of off a little bit. Like I think I wasn't in like the best of moods that day, and like
where was it at?
Oh God, where were we? It was some school. I want to say it was in Saraland, maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember. It was like a school run, but it was like in later like afternoon.
Yeah.
It was like a meet the teacher type of run. So it was like later that afternoon. And so we got off the run, and you like came back to like take the trailer and whatever. And I think you could tell that I was like not in like the best of moods. And you literally called me later, and you were like, hey, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And you were like, no, are you like literally okay? And I think in that moment is when I learned that I can literally tell you like my issues in the company.
Oh, so I wasn't like mad?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Like,
what was wrong with you?
No, you were like, are you okay? Like making sure that I was fine, like everything on the shift was fine.
Yeah.
And then we got to talking about like my annoyance. Is that a word I can use? With like, because a couple of days before that, you came on the Bay City trailer with me, and you were like fixing the air conditioner, I think. And you were like, is there anything I can do for you? Like whatever. Cause I was working with somebody else who I wasn't doing anything really. And like, so
I remember that.
I feel like I unloaded on you that day about.
Let me clarify a little bit of what you're talking about. So we run a company that's really based on self-awareness, and it's probably the number one thing it takes to work in our culture is self-awareness. And so I was on a shift, or I was hopping on to fix some stuff. Taylor had she was working with some other people, and one of those people were just literally just on their phone. We don't have a no phone policy. We review our policy constantly because, you know, like at other places I worked, it's like, hey, put your phone up when you're on the floor, do your job, and then you get a break, you can check your phone, whatever. We're a little bit more loosey-goosey because I just kind of hate corporate crap, you know, but like I also hate when people are distracted by it too. And so it's definitely a challenge, but I do remember that because I was asking you, not for you, but for her. Right. So I was trying to cue in some self-awareness when I was like, hey, Taylor, can I do anything for you? Like, I'm here. Like, I mean, you need me to scrub the floors? You need me to, man, these bins probably could be restocked. Like, I mean, I literally was being so exaggerated. Yeah. And I remember, is this your phone?
Yeah.
I remember, you know, the person was like,
yeah, like I don't even think they were aware that like you were even having that like discussion.
So anyway, but fair point. Because we also don't just drop hints and hope people pick up on them.
Right.
I had a conversation with that person weeks later, brought that up, and was like, not cool. And they agreed. They're like, totally not cool. Like, should not have done that. Wasn't even thinking. You know what I mean? And so now they're starting to operate at a higher level of responsibility, which is amazing. And so that's another thing I think is like, you know, we're not a company that just drops a bunch of hints and hopes people can pick it up. You know what I mean? Like, we'll definitely be direct and clear. But that was definitely, you know, I mean, it was just such a and I was just in and out, and it was such a, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's crazy. Did you already talk about your hard conversation?
No.
I can't remember.
I'm trying to think of one that would so my conversations, like, you know, some people have like a lot of hard conversations with you specifically, and I don't think we ever really had one of those. I remember the most scared I was for a conversation is when I was like late the first time ever.
Oh,
and you didn't, and I was like, Jeff did nothing. And I was so scared, and then later, like way late, like a day or so later, he texted me and said, hey, call me tomorrow. I'm like,
uh-oh.
Terrified. And so then the next day, like, I called him, like, already in tears when I just, like, picked up the phone. And he was, like, so gentle. But it was just, like, that would be my hardest conversation with Jeff. But I think one that taught me the most is, like, we had a shift that was trash before. The closing shift was not good. And so I came on to a really busy opening shift, and we had, like, a pre-order and all that stuff. And I was a shift lead with people who I didn't really work with super well.
Sure.
And so I remember, and like people left and like had to leave because they were sick. And so then other people came, and it was just like, I felt like I was living a nightmare, and I was like, well, this is just going to suck. Well, I'll finish through and it'll be fine. And Mo called me. I was like, hey, like, I know like the issues or whatever. And so she was basically like, you're going to need to talk to them about this and this and this and this. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? And that was one thing that I just really loved, is that both of you, like, when any time you were like, hey, you need to talk to this person, you like taught me how.
Yeah.
And then so then I basically just quoted Mo, and I was like, hey, Mo told me this. And it was me learning how to have a hard conversation, but it worked. And the shift was probably like way smoother than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And like, than it could have been potentially. And then another time where it was just like it worked out better after that, like the other shifts I was on, like because I had one conversation about something that was bothering me, and they just didn't realize, and then it was like, oh, okay, and that was never a problem again.
Right. Yeah.
And so then we were like friends by the time I left, and I was like, oh, okay.
I think that's another.
Conversations are cool.
Well, and that's an important point. I think we try to teach people how to communicate, because a lot of people don't know how to communicate. And there's one thing we do in our culture is we don't communicate for you. We teach you how to communicate. And if it blows up, it blows up. I've stepped in before when communication has blown up. I mean, blown freaking up. So I step in, get them in a room, and we figure it out. You know what I mean? And so but I'm not scared for it to blow up. It doesn't bother me if it blows up. I'm just like, because I'm teaching young people how to communicate and how to have healthy conflict. And I just think it's something that we do, and I think it's super important. Man, that's good stuff. I feel like we're gonna go over time on this thing. Okay, so what is like? And here's a question a bit on the business side. Like, what is something just stupid and dumb that you think we've either done and changed, or that we're doing now and probably should change?
We need to stop breaking our vacuum cleaners.
Yes, thank you, somebody.
Again?
I buy a new vacuum cleaner every other day, and literally I sent a message the other day. My team's gonna watch this and be like, he's an idiot. But literally every time I go in, it's like the things are clogged, so no one's cleaning them. There's not a like system for it. And so anyway, I literally
there technically is a system, but no one follows. Okay,
I know.
We're supposed to clean it once a week, and I don't think it
like a
gets
deep
done.
clean. Like you take the filters
take
apart,
it off, wash
we
it.
sanitize them.
I literally unloaded on somebody that I was working with the other day about how frustrated I was that we keep breaking our vacuum cleaners. I'm like, we use this vacuum cleaner to like suck up dry ground. So like, how does it keep breaking? I don't understand.
Literally. That's so funny.
That was just a side.
It's so true, though.
Side point.
It is so true.
Oh my God, it is literally so frustrating. It's like once a month I walk into Bay City and they're like, "Oh, the vacuum's broke." I'm like,
"Again?"
Are you
You're like, "Guys, we just bought a new one." That was why I sent the message. But it goes for everything. Like, I mean, our equipment ranges, our machines are anywhere between $7,000 to $18,000. And I'm like, y'all, that's not pocket change. Like, we've got to just be respectful of the equipment and respectful of everything. But those vacuums are $100 a pop.
Right.
I mean, I've spent $18,000 just in vacuum cleaners in the past 6 months, Like, I'm buying one.
I love how that's honestly not even an
I'm
exaggeration.
buying one every day. So I know I sent that message, but I don't correct a lot over the message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's very rare for me to be like, y'all, we suck. And it wasn't a we suck message. It was just we just have to think this through. Like, we got to stop breaking these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, that is funny. And we're trying to change it. What about you? What do you got?
Well, I don't know what y'all are doing now, honestly, which is so sad to say.
Yeah. What was something you saw in the time that you were in the business that we should have changed sooner or are still doing?
Oh, so one thing, like when I first started like shift leading and was really on the ball of like, we were getting a lot of trainees, so I was trying to like help out people, and they'd be like, well, this person told me something else. Oh, this person's something else.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that like since then we have corrected.
Yep, sure.
But for a while it was like every time I was on a trailer,
Super
there was
frustrating.
a different method to everything. And I'm like, listen, I remember when Jeff Roberts hounded me on this. So like, you don't have to listen to me, but somebody else is going to hound you.
I'm telling you, this is how we do it.
That's how it was when
point.
I was training. I would train with like different shift leads, and every shift lead would do something a different way, and I would be so confused because I was like, well, this person told me to do it this way, and they're like, well, I don't think that's right. But now we have like
But for a while it was like, okay, everybody has a different method for everything,
and
but one of them is wrong.
I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to get trained. It's never going to happen. Something's different every time I work with someone else.
You're like, first off, I never got called back to work here. Now I'm never going to get trained to be anything.
Great, I'm just going to have to go back to that daycare. Gosh.
You're like, I hate this company.
Those poor trainees, especially during her time, because it was like, okay, she would learn, her or somebody else would learn one method, and then like the next shift lead would get onto them for that method, and they'd be like, I don't know, and then it would like happen again.
I would like get in trouble by another shift lead. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is just something.
Let me stop you there and address like the listener or the watcher. Like, if you're growing a small business or running a small business, you will deal with this issue right here. Like, this is huge. It's the inconsistencies as you grow. When I was the only one that made coffee, or me and Mo and maybe one other person, every product was the exact same. I mean, all the time. Because either I made it, she made it, or one other person made it, and we were both watching them make it, And so this is a huge challenge. And I would encourage you, if you're watching and you're trying to figure this out, like, it's really all about systems, and it's all about writing things down and then properly communicating that. Because right now we have to communicate it across 3 locations. In a month or 2 or 3, or God knows when, we'll be communicating it across, Katie's laughing, we'll be communicating it across 4 locations. And so that's just what it is. But I love that you're sharing the pain of the process and the inconsistencies and how frustrating that was. Because it's something you have to go through. And if you're a young startup and you haven't gone through the pain yet, well, then take our pain and use it for your good. And you know what I mean? Like just be sure to document, write things down, and try to communicate it better than we did. It was literally the mix. It's just the madness of growth, and we're trying to work deals, and we're trying to make payroll and pay bills, and we're trying to make a product that's consistent. Because that's one thing I will say about other coffee places is they're not always hyper consistent. And we just had Fusakli's. We're probably going to play that blooper after. We just had Fusakli's, but they're a local grown startup company they're hyper consistent. I've never had one product from Fusakli's that wasn't identical to the last product. And so, what are you laughing at? So anyway, but I love it. I love that you guys are bringing that up. Okay, so here's a question I got for you. If you're named CEO today, or owner, or founder, or whatever, CEO I guess is the best term, right? So you're CEO. Give me one thing you would change, like, starting today. You'd send a message as soon as we stop recording. You'd send it to the whole company and say, we're going to change this. What would it be?
That's really hard.
You can answer it because you don't even work here. You can tell me anything.
But I just remember, like, before I left, that we were so, like, because it was when everything was kind of settling down. So it was just like you and Mo were both being so intentional with anything that we saw that was going wrong. Was like, oh, or like hey, we don't hang out enough. Then y'all are super intentional with, okay, let's change that, immediately. Sure. So, like, that was one thing that I was just always in awe, because anytime there was an issue, y'all acted on it so soon that it, like, never really was an issue, you know? And so then I'm trying to think of, like, I don't know what was left untied that I would change.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there is something.
Yeah.
Probably. And I'll think of it. Probably while Taylor's talking.
Well,
no, what do you think?
I don't know, to be completely honest. Like, obviously, we're not a perfect business, but, like, I don't think any business is perfect.
I mean, I'm perfect, but, the business isn't, because you guys work there.
We learned that in the interview, though. Wow, I think
it's a joke, everybody. I'm joking.
I think it's the other way around,
I'm kidding.
Actually.
One thing I would change is Hillary.
Hillary.
Yes.
Oh, wait, we changed it.
Yes. I would make Hillary be an employee again.
Yes,
I would
that is the one thing.
Drag her back to this company myself.
We could call the place she works now and just say a bunch of dirt on her and then get her fired, and then she has to come back here. I mean,
that's true.
I'm down.
True.
I'll do it right now. Here, let's what's the guy's
number?
We're gonna Bluetooth it in and we're gonna do this live. But truly nothing glaring that you'd be like, man, this has to change.
Like, genuinely and truly, there's nothing, like, super major and, like, super big that I'd be like, I would change this right now.
Do I get to answer this one? If I was running the company, I do think FaceTime is really valuable, and I would like to get more FaceTime with people, and I don't. Like, I hung out with Liberty yesterday, and I haven't seen Liberty in forever. Mm. And we hung for an hour at Chipotle, and, like, it's the first time I've actually had a conversation with her probably in months.
Yeah.
And so if all I could do was float around to locations and just hang out with people, that's all I would do. Mm-hmm. And so this is me trying to change it.
We've never hung out before.
Yeah, right. I mean, literally.
It's really sad.
Yeah,
it's
freaking. This is us hanging out right here. But I would love to change that. Like, so it's the demands of where we're trying to go, trying to figure all that out, and trying to really keep a healthy culture and, like, balancing that, And so, but that's literally would be my job description, just hanging out.
I think that was a positive, though, like, right before I left, though, because that was right when you were, hey, everybody meet with me. And so it was never, was talking to somebody, I was like, hey, how's Jeff? Because I saw them at the store, and they're like, I haven't seen him in a while. I was like, oh, well, like, that's so weird, because when I was there, like, no, they were saying it's good because, you get to do so many different things now. But, like, when I was there, I saw you guys, like, every day. And so it was just like.
I think you literally asked me the other day, oh, how's Jeff? And then I'm like, I genuinely barely ever see them.
It's crazy. Like, Ryan got hurt on, and I've never worked with Ryan, maybe once, but I
Yeah.
never see him. And he's a shift lead now. And I've never, like, I don't even interact. Like, Sam runs the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Wow.
even know. Like, I guess we still get good reviews. So I guess they're doing something, you know? Okay. So inside the hammer, I'm asking you guys a lot of questions. I wanted to put this right here. I told both of you, I texted you both and said, ask me anything. And I didn't let you tell me what the question is. So ask me something, because I want it to be inside of this culture, but also inside of kind of how we run things or what's going on in my life. So ask me a question.
Go first.
Sure.
Okay.
So since this, is for this podcast is kind of for people who are starting up or whatever. So
Yep.
what's one major thing that you wish you would have been told before you started, or like would have helped you?
That's a good one. Just get ready for be sure that you're ready to sacrifice what you're going to sacrifice to do it. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not starving and I'm not hurting and I'm not whatever, but like the demands of a startup are very heavy and the price you pay is very, very heavy. And so but I locked in. I mean, when I did this, I had no plan B and I was not going to go back. And so, but my voice has been out all week. Like, that's why I sound a little funny if you're listening. My throat's just kind of, Mo has no voice. She's had no voice for the entire week. It's a lot of demands and stress. And so even with my family, my kids, I try to really think about them and I try to be really intentional with them, because most of what they see is dad at a laptop, dad on the phone, dad just like working. And I don't want them to grow up with that memory of like, man, like, I wish dad would have went to the park with us, like, instead of just running a business for 18 hours a day, And
Right.
so, but it's doable. Like we're seeing more and more light at the end of the tunnel, because we're having more and more amazing team members come on and really buy in and start taking off more weight. But the first 3 years they're brutal. And so, yeah, I would just say definitely do it. I wouldn't undo it. Like, if you asked me to undo it, I would absolutely not. I would do every single thing all over again. I would get up at 4 and go to bed at midnight every single day and not even think about it. Like, I would for sure do it. Just be sure that you're prepared to take the weight. You know what I mean? And so that's a really good question. What do you got?
Good answer.
You kind of touched on my question that I had,
Yeah?
which is something I would like to know. Maybe everyone else listening would like
Yeah.
to know as a future owner.
Yeah.
Maybe fingers crossed.
I
Maybe
love
we
it.
need to have a
Yes.
hard conversation later.
We're gonna roll. We're gonna roll this clip when you're opening your store in like 5 years, and we're gonna be like, future owner, look.
But no, my question was, how do you balance like work and like your family life?
Yeah.
Because like from my perspective, it's like y'all work literally 24/7.
We do.
So it's like, how do you like manage your family time compared to like here?
We do, and a couple things. Like I don't think you can beat yourself up, and so like I try not to beat myself up because of what we're doing, right? Like, it's just it's tough sometimes,
Right.
And so you can't beat yourself up, but like there's really no such thing as work-life balance. It's just life, right? And so what we do in life is we are plowing a business, and we also have a marriage, and we're also raising kids. And that's just what we do. And so we literally, Mo and I spend most of the day like, hey, I'll pick up Joy from daycare, and the kids are getting off of the bus at the house. And so let's try to make sure somebody's home, because they've been dropped off countless times with nobody. You know what I mean? So it's like this whole thing that we try to, maybe I shouldn't say that on public, whatever. But like, and so I don't know if there is a balance, but you do have to take the small moments. Like, and we're getting better and better and better. Like, we went to the beach 2 weeks ago or
Right.
whatever. Like, but it was for 3 hours. Like, I wasn't there for 3 weeks. I want to be there for 3 weeks, but it was 3 hours. We let the kids play and and my kids have fun. Like, I don't want to get on here and sound like you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
sound like it's so tough, because my kids, they have a blast, and they really, really, really have a lot of fun, and they get looped into a lot of the business fun too. I mean, they're all riding one wheels. Look, my kids aren't hurting them, but like, but toys and fun doesn't replace like parenting and time, And so I really got to get intentional about, we've got to do more things in our marriage. We just do. Like, we have to have date nights some point. I actually want to start a podcast on marriage and business, which I think would be fascinating, because I think a lot of marriages are people that are married run businesses, and I don't think anybody talks about the challenges and the dynamic there. And so that's future coming. So be watching. But yeah, I just think we just do it. Like, every day we just, you just figure it out. And I think
Yeah.
we get better at it too. Because if I was still working at the pace I did when we first started, this thing would not, I'd be like, we're selling, we're done. Like, because it was truly insane. And so, So yeah, I don't know if that helped you at all, but like I see it as one big thing and not really compartments, because compartmentalizing doesn't really work. They thought it was going to work. Like they actually compartmentalized the Titanic. I don't know if you know this, but they built chambers into the Titanic, and they were like, well, check it out. It's got chambers, so if it gets a hole right here, it's just going to fill up this little chamber, and it won't sink the whole boat. It'll just be water in this one compartment. But the truth is, a hole in the boat's a hole in the boat, and so the whole thing sank. And so, and I think the same way it is in life. Like people try to compartment their social life and compartmentalize their dating life and compartmentalize their work life, and it's kind of, but a hole in the boat's a hole in the boat. It's all connected, and it's all together. And
That's
so
really good.
Anyway, dropping gold on this podcast. Hope you people are still listening. Anyway, but that's cool. I just wanted you guys to throw me something. What is some advice you'd give someone wanting to start a business? The only reason I ask is you guys are you guys have had your face planted in our business. Like you've been literally on the front row of this thing. Like, what is some advice you could tell people?
I mean, I don't really know if it's advice, more as just something I observed y'all doing, but it you kind of already touched on it. Like once you decided to go for it, you went all in, And so like whenever we ask about, your time or your past, like your life before, all this stuff, you're like, this is what we do now. Like, I mean, we do other things in it. We love our life, but like once you committed, it wasn't like you had 1,200 part-time jobs trying to run a coffee business, and you're like, either we're gonna sink or we're gonna sail, you know?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process too. It's like I wouldn't come into it like we're gonna kind of try to do it, go all in. And I think it also helps that like there's team members too. If you have really good team members that are also all in with you, then I don't think you'll have any issues. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's good. Going all in is super important. I ask this question on every podcast. Failure rates for startups are 90%, 95%, 98%, some studies say. So most businesses that start fail. I mean, the majority of businesses. Actually, when I was in college, I have a degree in entrepreneurship. We weren't even allowed to write a business plan with a coffee shop or food restaurant. We're not allowed because it was a guaranteed failure. Like if you were going to start a restaurant, you're going to fail.
Wow.
And so he wouldn't even allow us to write the business plan on that. Because that's how high the failure rate were.
So naturally, Jeff did it.
Yeah, of course. Like, take that, Dr. Bacon. We're killing it. So, what is why? My question to you two is, why haven't we failed? Yet, and I always preface that we still could fail. Like it's not look at me here. Like it's not. This is not guaranteed. We could fail, but why haven't we failed yet?
I think it's our culture.
What do you mean by that?
I think how we love on people, how we love on our city, how we do have a connection with our customers. I think that's a really big part of it.
That's cool.
Because not everywhere you go, you have that relationship with an employee at somewhere else like we do with our customers. So
that's cool.
That's exactly kind of what I was going to say. Whenever I read that question, it was immediately it was oh, customers, because obviously our culture, but our customers are just so supportive.
Yeah.
Of everything. Mobile just really grabbed a hold of you guys.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
They okay, whatever Yellowhammer's doing, we're going to get on board with. And
it's
it was
insane.
It's crazy because it's they love us and they don't even know us yet. So it's
right.
A new customer. It's funny, at some locations, if you're new, they know you're new. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, I need to know your name. Yeah. I met somebody, I don't work there anymore, but I've met 2 people in the past month that I'll be walking around. One person, I wasn't even in Mobile. They're I know you from somewhere. I know I've seen you on Instagram. Or I was in a small group and I was the whole time I was thinking, where do I know this lady? And then later she said it was finance stuff. And she's oh, I could probably cut back on Yellowhammer. And I was oh, that's where I know you from. I immediately knew her order.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And then she's I was trying to figure out you too, but I was
what was her order?
I don't remember now. I think it was a hazelnut latte or something like that.
Yeah,
it was one of the early morning Bay City. She always came early morning Bay City.
My favorite moments is when you regular customers come, and sometimes I think that they don't realize that we know that they're regulars.
Yeah.
And then we're oh yeah, you get this, and they're oh my gosh, yes.
And then they're always so embarrassed, oh, I come here too much. I'm actually, I could name you every order in this line. So
all these cars behind you, guaranteed, I know all of their orders
I know what
too.
All
so
these
don't
guys
even feel bad.
That's
but I think definitely just our customers, they help hold up a lot,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat, you guys. Hey, we'd put something out on Instagram. Did anybody kick in? So what we're gonna do, and we'll try to do a better job if you're watching or even just listening. We're gonna try to do a better job. So pay attention to our Facebook and our Instagram, and we're gonna start putting out, because we have the ability to take phone calls live, and so we'll try to get it out. We literally just threw it out like an hour ago. And so if you guys have any questions that you'd want to actually ask live on the podcast, we'd love to do that. And so you can DM us your phone number and we'll call you and let you know and try to give you a window of time of when we'll be calling. And so anyway, I just think it'd be fun. It'd be a different element to add to the podcast experience. Any last thing you guys want to say? We're wrapping up. Anything you guys got, you didn't say, you forgot to say? You want to say something really mean before you can say something really mean and then just walk out. We could end it like that.
We'll wait till we're not recorded. Yeah. That way I'm not held to it.
We were talking crap earlier, just sitting around waiting on Fusakli's, and I so wanted to hit the record button because Hillary was saying a lot of good stuff. I was like, I'm going to hit record right now. We're just going to start the podcast a little early. Anything you guys got?
Half our employees would hate her.
They probably do.
Next time you go to Yellowhammer.
Oh, no.
Here, Hillary, here's your latte.
Hey, I'm going to come make my own
Have
drink.
fun.
No, I love it.
That's it. You guys got anything?
I don't have anything else, I don't guess.
Come on, Taylor. Throw out a banger.
I don't have a banger right now.
Oh, man.
I
I'm
know.
getting excited. That's all we got?
I know Hillary's got something up there.
What you got?
I don't.
This is it?
Yeah, I guess. When you
All
put
right.
me on the spot, we're both awkward.
That's very true.
Well, you guys, hey, I just want to thank y'all so much. Thank you guys for watching us on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Spotify, Apple Music, all the other services that we're on. Just want to thank you guys. And also, if you have questions, I know that we can do the live call-in thing. If you guys want to do that, that'd be fun. But also drop us a comment on any platform you're listening on. So that could be YouTube. That could be, can you do comments on Apple? I don't know. Send us a message. Send us something. I promise you, we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear your questions. We'd love to answer your questions. And so, man, I just want to thank you guys again, Taylor and Hillary. Thank you guys so much for just hanging out with us. I almost forgot a name right there. I was like, Taylor and
The girl we don't talk to
Taylor-
anymore 'cause
Taylor-
she quit.
Wow.
she has a pet. She does have a pet pig. That's the one thing you didn't tell people about.
Oh, little Wilbur.
She has a pet pig named Wilbur.
Actually, it's not named Wilbur.
I
Jeff-
call him Wilbur.
Yeah.
But his real name's Leon.
Keon.
Keon.
And
Not
Jeff
Leon.
just named him.
I thought Wilbur was more appropriate.
Jeff's like, he picks like one thing that he knows you by.
That's it.
That's
It's
forever
literally
what you're known by.
It's literally it. That's so funny.
I do want to mention that I'm probably the only employee that doesn't have a nickname from Jeff, and it kind of hurts my heart
Wow.
a little bit. But it's
No,
fine.
You're
We
gonna
can
have
figure,
to give her one
we
now.
can figure one out.
almost called
time.
you Tater Tot when I called you.
Oh.
You picked up. I was like Tater Tot or Tay. Maybe it's Tay. I don't know.
Nah.
Anyway.
We'll work it out.
Well, hey, want to thank you guys again. Y'all, thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys for being on here. This wasn't as bad as you thought, right? It was kind of
No.
fun. We kind of had fun, kind of hanging out. Anyway, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks again. Monday and Tuesday, she couldn't even talk. I couldn't either. Like, I'm still like dealing,
What are you sick with?
running a business. Phone calls 18 hours a
Hey.
day. Hey, welcome.
Dude, I'm literally, I've been on the phone like 50 days.
Welcome to the podcast. You're live on the podcast.
Oh, great. I'm just at Fusakli's right now. I've
You're
been here
still at Fusakli's?
Dude, yes,
No way.
I'm telling you, 30 minutes. It's been probably. Nah,
kidding.
let me look.
Did you
You're
go
not
inside?
making it to that fall festival tonight.
I'm
Nikki.
about.
Is
I'm
this
about
where
to
we
call
can-
Austin.
Is this
I'm
where
about
we
to call
can
Austin.
we can publicly blast Fusakli's
Oh my
for
God.
being slow?
No, you can't.
I mean, everything's
when did-
recorded right
when did-
now.
Grayson first.
You what?
223. I've been in this line for 23 minutes.
Hey, we may go ahead and kick off the. We may go ahead and kick it off.
Oh,
Dude.
that's sad.
Yeah, you may need to. I mean, you may need to because I'm at the window waiting on my food now.
We're starving.
So, so I've been here for like 10 minutes
I'm
at
starving.
just this window.
Says the finish line.
Dude, I'm
At
literally,
least.
I'm about to call Austin
My
and be
stomach-
like, what the heck, dude?
My stomach is eating itself.
Well, hey, just for the record, everybody, I'd have been there on time if I didn't have to take little Jeffy up his food. Can
Wow,
you
way to-
mention that
Way
public?
way to publicly bust me like that. These guys are like, what are they talking about?
I'm sorry, is that an excuse?